Welcome to South of Left Field. My name is Jimmy, and I want to carry on from my last video about how the votes that we have the ability to cast actually do matter, how they actually count. Now here's the thing. I spent a lot of my life trapped by this commonly held wisdom that if I voted for anything other than the two parties, in most extreme cases, if I voted for whoever lost or never stood a chance, then I was really wasting my vote. And I don't believe any longer that that is in any way true. I mean, we have an election. Let's say I go out and I vote green. People say, oh, you've wasted your vote. Green never had a chance of being elected. Well, okay, let's admit the Green candidate had no chance of being elected, but I cannot bring myself to vote for the Republican candidate. I can't bring myself to vote for the Democratic candidate. I mean, neither one of them are willing to do anything or pass any regulations or laws that I support at all. If I don't vote, well, I really am wasting an opportunity. If I don't vote, I don't show up on a roll. I don't show up on a tally. My number, my one vote, doesn't get put on any report anywhere. I really have wasted it. But I vote for the Green candidate, let's say. What does that mean? Well, it means that when the tally of votes is rolled out, I'm in there. And that candidate has one more vote than they would have had if I hadn't. And I guarantee you that the Republicans and the Democrats, even though they're not going to say much about it unless they're making fun of it, they're going to glance at this number. If somebody running for office, oh, if only I had 1,500 more votes, I would have won the election, and they look over and the Green candidate's got 1,500 votes, it's going to tick them off. And it puts it in their head, those were people who voted, those were votes I could have won if I had given out the right line. I mean, I really do want to encourage people to look at the vote and use it to put their stamp on a tally somewhere. Because if more of us did that, if more people would sit down and say, okay, I'd have to hold my nose to vote for A, I'd have to hold my nose to vote for B. I just don't even want to vote. Oh, wait a minute. You can show your displeasure with A and B by voting C or D or E. And by voting something other than these two main parties, more people begin showing up, and the numbers of votes cast for third or fourth parties begins to rise. Just like the Republican politicians I talked about last time, who are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. The donors don't want Trumpism. The voters don't want anything but Trumpism. And the politicians are caught in the middle. They're trying to listen to somebody. And the fact that they're willing to listen to the voters as opposed to the donors, that's big. Until politicians are confronted by a large group of voters that don't care what their donors want and will judge them and vote against them or in opposition or somewhere else to show their displeasure, making their election more difficult, they're not really going to pay attention to their voter base. More of us need to, as I phrased it, go rogue. We need to vote that other party. We need to show the people who try to say, oh, well, you're wasting your vote if you vote for somebody who doesn't stand a chance of winning. No, I'm not wasting my vote. I'm using my vote, and I'm not using it where you want me to. You're going to see my vote under that tally over there. And as many other people as I can drag along with me, and if enough of us begin doing that, we can put pressure on politicians, which in turn puts pressure on our government. You don't have to be crazy, and you don't have to just throw your hands up and quit. If you throw your hands up and quit, they've won. They've won. The donors won. If you just throw your hands up and don't even vote. You only have to show up for an election, which is like one day every other year or every 4 years, depending on how your cycles go and the state you're in. That's all you got to do. It's not a great effort, but I tell you what, it can be a sense of satisfaction. You can be counted. You can stand up and be counted. And if you're standing up and you're counted somewhere that those two stink pots you can't bring yourself to feel good about want you to be, if you can be where you want to be, if nothing else, thumbing your nose at them. Yes, I'm a voter. And yes, I'll cast my vote. And no, neither one of you deserve it. So here I am. It can become a movement when enough of us take part in it. It's one reason I keep pointing to what's going on with the Republican Party. And now I'm going to turn and point the finger at the Democratic Party. Because I guarantee you that the Democrats don't operate out of any respect or fear for the progressive desires. The progressives all rose up to follow Bernie Sanders. He threw them under the bus and said, go be Democrats. Well, if the progressives had wanted to be Democrats, they'd have been Democrats. But they weren't, and a lot of them refused. It was an opportunity to forge a significant movement that was lost. That's all I'm going to say on that subject. Now, people are trying to form new parties in the progressive realm, the People's Party. I wish them luck. I'll sign up for them. I'll cast votes for them. But they've got a hard road to travel because they don't have the organization and they don't have the donors. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the voter rolls. They don't have the donor lists. They don't have the connections with all of the think tanks and the people who are used to coaching the talking head to say the words to get the vote. They don't have all of that infrastructure that the two major parties have been building for 150 years. You can't create something like that on short notice. I know there's been talk in the Republican ranks, a lot of the Republican thinkers, people out of the party bureaucracies, some people who are sitting in elected office. We can't stand Trump. What if we formed a third party? And, they're running up against their own wall, which is they may have connections and they may have a lot of, places they can go to get funding and everything else. They're only missing one thing, and it's a voter base. They don't have a coherent message and the voter base. Which just goes to show you, yes, we think money is king. Money's not as king as you think it is. If money was king, Trumpism would be dead. It's not. The money doesn't want it, but that doesn't matter. No matter how much the money, no matter how many times the politician gets reelected, no matter how big the organization, you still got to turn out the vote or you're not getting the office. So we need to be ornery. We need to stand up for ourselves and say, you don't deserve my vote. You know what? I'll vote for somebody that doesn't stand a chance, just so you know my vote went there. And just so you know how much support you don't have. If we want to take our government back, if we want our government to answer to us instead of the donors, that's the only way it's really going to happen, peacefully. So please, go to the ballot box and vote your desire. Whether that desire is for A, vote A. If it's for B, vote B. If they both stink to high heaven, thumb your nose and vote something else. From South of Left Field, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the message. Share, like. See you soon.